Hey everyone, Glenn Sanford here, founder and CEO of eXp Realty. And today on our expansion podcast, we're going to talk to another icon agent from eXp from Boise, Idaho, Molly Arnott. She actually made a transition a couple of years ago. It's kind of an interesting story around that into over to Boise. But Molly, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Glenn, thanks so much for having me.
So you've been doing this thing called real estate a little while. Maybe you can just what's your background? How did you get into real estate?
Yeah, so I've been licensed for a little over 5 years. I started my career in California. I was born and raised in the Bay Area, and so I was actually in Sonoma County when I got my license and was there for the first couple of years. But I've been in real estate for, I'd say, more like 15 years. My husband and I bought our first condo back in 2008, just as the market was doing that thing. And really just kind of stumbled my way through figuring out real estate investing first and foremost. And yeah, we spent about a decade doing that, not really know what we were doing, fixing up places. We did the live and flip thing. And yeah, we just kind of found our way through it in that way. Everybody in our family thought we were crazy, and I just really dug the whole real estate investing world. And then finally in 2018, I discovered bigger pockets and found my way into deciding to become a licensed real estate agent and make that my full-time gig.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Did you ever run across um, is it Joshua Dorkin? Is that the
Mhm.
gentleman's name? Um, I met him a number of years ago, and obviously
Did
he
you?
did great. Yeah, built a quite a crazy business of his own. So.
Yes, he is a very successful man. I mean, he's the OG of bigger pockets, and I definitely learned a ton from him or in those early days. I only wish I had found him and all the information that he shares with the world earlier.
Oh yeah, for sure. Now you started as an agent in the Bay Area.
Hmm.
Um, I assume that was a great market, high dollar prices, obviously, and other things. So and then you went from there to Boise, Idaho. How
Yep.
is the difference between the markets, and why the shift?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very different market in so many ways. I mean, just speaking from the experience of being a licensed agent and what it's like to run a business in a place that you're from. I had deep roots in the Bay Area. I've got family and friends, and my marketing strategies, my business side of things was very different there because I had a network. My sphere was already existing. I just needed to tap it. And so that was great. It had all of its own benefits starting there. My family and I decided to relocate to the Boise, Idaho area in the summer of 2020. And I had to relearn the business. I mean, I'd only been in it 2 years, but I feel like I was kind of getting the hang of it. I was figuring out how to work my sphere and do my social media stuff. And yeah, it was good, but I had to start over here and had to really treat it like a business. It wasn't just reaching out and making sure that my family and friends knew that they should use me. I had to really come up with lead sources, and I had to just really tap into that business in a much deeper way. And it was great. I mean, my business more than doubled that first year, and it's been a really amazing experience to treat my business like a business rather than kind of a side hobby that makes me decent money.
Oh, for sure. So you have a motto. I think it's "I was made for this." What does that mean
Yeah.
in your real estate business?
Yeah, well, I think it's easy for any agent to have imposter syndrome in this business because there's always
Right.
somebody who's doing something so much bigger and so much greater in this business. And I regularly kind of, I don't know, downgrade my investing experience and the wealth of knowledge that I do have in that space. And so I have to kind of remind myself that I was made for this. Like I've been in this for so long. Like I know my stuff, and so that motto has kind of carried me through when I get those little peaks of insecurity or not sure what I'm up to or who I'm talking to. I'll be like, I'm made for this, and that helps carry me from step to step.
Oh, excellent, excellent. So it's kind of an internal mantra that just kind of
Mhm.
recenters you in the business. So
Yeah.
Now you've been with a couple other brokerages before EXP, obviously, so you've had some experience. What
Yep.
was it about EXP that attracted you, and was it where did you join EXP? I assume it was in Boise, but
Yeah.
not sure.
Yeah, so the story on that is that when I got my license in California, I actually had a 6-month-old baby when I first got my license, and so every moment spent away from home was precious. I had a little one that I wanted to be home with. I also had 2 older children, so I had a busy household, and I needed to bring an income and support my family, and so. I was very intimidated by the team situations, the different brokerages and the splits. And so I ended up with a boutique brokerage. It was just me and a broker and one other agent. And so I kind of got a 2-for-1. I got the mentor and the broker in one, and that was really, really great for that first year of my business. I was very, very grateful to be in that situation. But very quickly, I felt like I was outgrowing her. She was, focused on that just kind of old school, tap your sphere and not really anything more. And so I just kind of started looking outside of, like what other systems are out there? What kind of new age, technology is being used in real estate? And I knew that I needed to be somewhere looking in that direction. And I happened to meet an agent in a transaction who was an EXP agent. And so he invited me to sit down and he showed me the model. And I was very inspired by it. That was back in California. But at that point in time, you know how relationships are. This is a relationship business. I felt pretty loyal to my broker, and I just wasn't quite ready to make the change. Then 2020 happened, and then we decided we were going to be moving to Idaho. And so one of the first things I did when we were moving out to Idaho is I started researching agents out there. I started looking in the investor space, and I stumbled across Jonna Weber, who I'm sure you met Jonna a few times. She's a great real estate agent out here with eXp Realty, and she's very active in the real estate investor space. And so it was just like kind of a stroke of luck that I happened to meet her before I'd actually ever moved out here. And so she and I got to chatting. And so one of the first things I did when we moved out here was I sat down and had coffee with her. And then I very quickly signed up. And for agents that are going to be licensed in 2 states, it is just an absolute no-brainer, as if EXP doesn't offer enough technology support and enough, benefits to being with EXP. The way that they allow us to be licensed in 2 states and have your cap work on both states, it makes too much sense. And that was a really good gig, especially that first year when I was still selling in California while also starting to sell in Idaho. And I was kind of, doing both things. It was a really great, great gig.
Awesome. Now, are you still selling in California?
I actually let go of my license last year. I did a sale this year, but it's now on a referral basis. I figured out pretty quickly in that first year I was not enjoying going back. I just really wanted to be here, and I love my life here in Boise, and so it just didn't make sense to keep doing that. And I basically worked with an agent and kind of developed a relationship out there that I have a great split with her when I refer her clients, and I still work very much hand in hand with helping her because she's kind of a newer agent in the negotiations and just building those relationships with our clients.
Oh, awesome. So now what are you like? You moved to a new city, Boise, Idaho.
Yep.
How did you get your business going? Obviously, you've been an icon a couple years in a row. So how did you start getting your business in the door, moving to Boise,
Yeah.
and then how have you sort of continued to build that business?
Yeah, I definitely utilize social media. I know that's kind of what everybody says these days. But my very clever husband decided, I think we had been living here, gosh, I think it was like maybe a month, when he created a Facebook group called California to Idaho. And it was a Facebook group for Californians moving to Idaho. And so I started utilizing Facebook groups all around the relocation. So I was using other people's groups for relocation as well as my own, inviting people to my own, and just really grabbing that relocation movement and, latching onto it because that was going to be my lead source. It was something I could relate to. I had just been through it myself, and I knew what things I needed that I didn't get from the agent that helped us buy our first place here. There's just so much to learn. And I personally run my business very, strongly in the relationship space. And I want to help people not just buy a house, but like not the like cheesy motto, like we'll help you buy a home, but like I genuinely am like, I want to help you get integrated into your new community. I like getting to know people and being like, you know what, I think these areas are going to be a really good fit given your kids, what schools you're looking at or what sports your kids play, or, just really understanding who they are and helping them get rooted, like introducing them to new friends, like really genuinely getting them connected so that when they arrive here, they feel like they're just hitting the ground running. And so that had became my niche. And so I just really, I still to this day spend a lot of time on my Facebook groups. I now have 7 Facebook groups.
Okay.
And I have a whole team that helps support me in running those groups. But those Facebook groups are an incredible lead source. And they're, technically free now at the point I'm paying people to help me run them. But, they're not like the traditional lead source that you're paying off of Zillow or one of those other, big names. But that's been my main source of leads, other than continuing to just, lean into my sphere as my sphere grew and making an effort to grow a sphere in a new location, like making those opportunities turn into something, by being on the kids' soccer teams and, just deeply getting involved in everything that I can.
Oh, excellent. So now, so would you say Facebook, or I know you're also big on, I think at least you have an Instagram
Yeah.
channel. Where's which is your biggest lead gen source? Is it the Facebook groups, or is it
Yeah.
Instagram, or a little bit of both, or crossover? Or
I mean, I get a little bit of business from Instagram, and I definitely put effort into Instagram because, that's the new age world. But Facebook continuously is where I get my lead source from. And it is always Facebook groups. That just seems to be such an easy niche, where people are already going and looking for community. They're already looking to tap into their networks and their spheres. And it's just a great place to be. I develop relationships anywhere and everywhere I can on Facebook. And I've made many wonderful friends. And, I think it's been said a few times that whoever has the most friends does the most business. And
yep.
it just feels true for me. I make a conscious effort to always be developing relationships in local mom groups, in our local, we've got small towns out here, in those community pages, just being a resource for people. Anytime they need something, I'm there and available to provide them that resource. And then of course my own personal pages, I will sometimes invite people to my page from other people's pages. So they'll be, or sorry, not page, group. So if I'm in somebody else's group and they're asking a lot of questions about relocation, about schools, I'll say, hey, go ahead and jump into my group. We talk about this a ton in that group. There's a bunch of information on it. There's other parents who've done a ton of research about those schools, or whatever the topic is. And that is usually a really great way to continue growing the group, but also continue building that relationship.
Awesome. Now, what in terms of, obviously you've got your leads coming in from your social. Uh, what do you have a favorite CRM, or do you think about Facebook as being your CRM? Like, how do you think about that, given your
Yeah.
significant social presence?
I can't tell you how much I wish Facebook would allow an API for Facebook Messenger. Like, I can't even say that enough because it makes me crazy that I can't organize my Facebook messages and, be able to track them in any great way that is right there in the system. So I do use KV Core, which is obviously our preferred CRM through eXp Realty. I think it's great. I've used it for so many different things. I mean, the squeeze pages, I still use quite a bit on social. And yeah, I definitely use KV Core. It's a big part of our team and our systems. But I also am still a notebook girl. And I write down
Right.
when I start a new conversation with somebody on Facebook Messenger, through one of my groups. I make sure to jot them down on my, lists of like my ABC list. I don't know if anybody everyone has their own systems, right? But I definitely follow kind of more of a ninja selling style. And I have my, my hot list and my warm list. And so they get onto those warm lists, and I make sure that I keep following up with them that way, so that I don't miss anybody.
Okay, awesome. Now, I'm just by the way, I haven't done the automation, so I'm not sure, but I could have swore that Facebook does allow for some sort of, and maybe it's Facebook pages versus personal. I'm not sure, but
That
I
might be
think
it.
it seems. I think that must be it. If you're using your personal page,
Hmm.
you may not have some of that, but I know that if you do have business pages, I think you can API that into things like Salesforce and maybe even KV Core. I'm not sure, but
Yeah. I should check that. I do know that I've been suggested in the past to use your business page because you get more options with that. But the problem is your business page isn't so personal, And when you're messaging somebody to talk to them about, moving their family, and a lot of times what they're looking for is, information about neighborhoods or information about, kids sports or whatever it is. It's like, you don't necessarily want to be interacting with a business. You want to be interacting with a person, a mom, somebody who's connected to their community. And so I've struggled with that because I really feel like I should be using my personal page and being a personal person in that world.
now was there, I think wasn't there isn't Facebook making a change on how properties can be promoted on Facebook? Do you,
You mean for the ads?
well, I was thinking that Facebook had sort of changed their policy, and maybe it was for sometime next year it kicks in, where they're not allowing the promotion of real estate listings via
What?
Facebook's. So I
I
think
haven't heard that.
re
That would be wild.
okay. Yeah, it was like, and I wasn't sure if that one, I don't know that it's super practical, but it was something that I know is gonna affect people sort of at least, on the promotion side. So it'll
Yeah.
be interesting to see how that plays out. But it doesn't sound like it's impacted you yet. So maybe it's not a real
Well,
thing.
yeah, I don't do a lot of the promotion side of things. I mean, I have run Facebook ads in the past. And that's all fine and dandy. We've gotten leads that way. I just find that the leads I get off of my Facebook groups by just, building relationships, posting polls, posting articles, asking questions, that the relationships I build that way are much more fruitful and convert quicker and cheaper.
Okay, awesome. And then it does sound like you're also using KV Core a bit.
Yes, absolutely. KV Core is how we like distribute our newsletter, and we have systems in place there to make sure we keep in touch with our existing sphere and past clients. Yeah, KV Core is great.
Oh, excellent. So if there was one piece of advice that you could give to EXP agents, what would it be?
Oh man, only one.
Well,
um,
let's make it two.
yeah, I'm like, for sure. I'm very goal oriented. I think it's really important to map out what you're up to. I think, just kind of flying by the seat of your pants it's fine maybe when you're first getting going, but um, I have found so much value for myself and my business by putting goals out there, like setting something out in the future. Maybe that's a 5-year goal, a 10-year goal. I like to work 5 years, 3 years, and 1 year goals. And so I put things out there that I really want for my life and for my family and for my business 5 years out. And then I have to track backwards. Okay, if I'm going to live in that type of house, or I'm going to be able to vacation in those type of places 3 times a year, what do I need to be doing at the 3 year mark? What do I need to be doing at the 1 year mark? And then I even work it backwards of, okay, what does each month need to look like? What does every day need to look like that is going to give me the things I'm going to do today that are going to build up to the goals that I have set for myself. And I definitely didn't do that enough my first couple of years in the business. I was just kind of going for it. And I think once you start setting goals, it really gives you the path. You can start to really look at your day-to-day activities and make sure they're aligning with the kind of person who's going to get those 5-year goals. So that'll be my biggest piece
Awesome.
of advice, is just to start setting goals and start working them backwards and figuring out how to achieve those.
Did you did you ever read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People?
I haven't read that book, but you're like the fifth person just in the last couple of weeks that says I need to read that book. So I'm like, okay, that's on my list.
Well, I think it really aligns with just your goal setting plan. The first axiom is, I think, be proactive, and the second one is begin with the end in mind. If you don't,
Yes.
it basically is, if you don't know where you're going, it doesn't really matter what you do. But if
Right.
you know where you're going, it makes it a lot easier to make the choices necessary to sort of be in that direction. So
Totally. I couldn't be more aligned with that. And I just think everybody needs to take the time to slow down and put in the effort to do that.
awesome. Well, Molly, this has been great. Having this conversation. Obviously, some great clues. I love the Facebook group stuff and how you're really working with that. And I assume that if people start to follow you on social, they'll sort of see a little bit of that and get some clues
Yeah,
from that.
absolutely.
And then you're also on Instagram at Molly Arnott Realtor, Arnott Realtor.
Yep. You can find
And
me.
then your website is xorealestate.com. So I think that's all correct.
Yes. That sounds great.
Awesome. Well, good stuff. And thanks everyone for listening. And hopefully you got some great stuff out of this today. I really enjoyed our conversation, Molly, and everybody. Until next time, take care.